Welcome to Entrepreneurship, Starting and Operating a Small Business. The first portion of our lecture will cover entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. I have divided this lecture into three different categories. Within this category, by the end, we should be able to summarize what entrepreneurship is and what entrepreneurs do. We should be able to examine how free enterprise economies work and how entrepreneurs fit into them, to describe small businesses, to understand the costs and benefits of entrepreneurship, to recognize the various entrepreneurial options, to identify and evaluate opportunities to start your own business, to distinguish between ideas and opportunities, to be able to explore the multiple paths to entrepreneurship, to explain success signals for entrepreneurs, and last but not least, to develop skills for a future career, employment, or entrepreneurship. Now, understanding entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, what is an entrepreneur? Most Americans earn money by working in business. They are somehow engaged in the buying and selling of products or services to earn money. A product is something that exists in the nature or is made by human beings, and it is tangible, meaning that it can be physically touched. A service is labor or expertise exchanged for money. It is intangible, it cannot be physically touched. Now, understanding entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship a step further, for an entrepreneur, a person who recognizes an opportunity and organizes and manages a business, assuming that the risk for the sake of potential return. There is a necessity-based entrepreneurs that enter entrepreneurship between circumstances because it makes that self-employment their best available option for income replacement. Now, the opportunity-based entrepreneurs, they start businesses to exploit a perceived opportunity or to pursue one that they have actually created. We also look at the free enterprise system, which is the economy of the United States is a free enterprise system because it is characterized by private rather than governmental ownership of capital assets and goods. So anyone is free to start a business. Entrepreneurs seek opportunities that they envision are generators or incremental income of wealth. That free enterprise system is an economic system in which businesses are privately owned and operate relatively free of government interference. Now, for capitalism, it is that free market system characterized by individuals and companies competing for economic gains, ownership of private property and wealth, and that price determination through the free market forces. And when we speak of capital, it is the cash or goods invested to generate income or some form of wealth. Now, voluntary exchange, it's the free market system. It also sometimes refers to as a private enterprise free trade system because it is based on voluntary exchange. For voluntary exchange, a transaction between two parties who agree to trade money for a product or service occur here. Now, the benefits and challenges for free enterprise, this turned the entire continent into a free trade zone. The General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, the GATT, cut or eliminate tariffs between 117 countries, and this evolved into the World Trade Organization, which has about 159 members. Now, for free trade, for much of the recorded history, international trade was difficult and hazardous. So to sell products in another country, often it's required that long and dangerous journeys overland or by ship. So many countries were closed to outside trade, and governments also use their power to give their own business people competitive advantages over those for other countries by establishing trade barriers such as imposing taxes, tariffs on foreign goods, and that helped make them a little bit more expensive. Today, trade barriers have fallen into many parts of the world, and the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, the NAFTA of 1994, it eliminated trade barriers between US, Mexico, and Canada. So what is a small business? A small business is defined by the US Small Business Administration Office of Advocacy as having fewer than 500 employees and selling less than that $5 million worth of products or services annually. So the core principles involved in running a large company like Microsoft and Cordelli are the same. This is why entrepreneurship is often called the engine of an economy, and it drives economic creativity, giving the rise to wealth and jobs and improving that standard of living. A neighborhood restaurant, a mattress manufacturer, a technology research company, and a clothing boutique can all have examples of a small business, and even a leading local employer may be classified as small under this particular definition. Now, some fun facts for you about small businesses. There are about 29.6 million businesses in the US. Approximately 99.9% of them are small companies with fewer than 500 employees. This is not taking into consideration the businesses that have grown since COVID-19. Small businesses in America employed 48% of the country's private non-government workforce, hired about 43% of high-tech workers, and it's created 67% of new net jobs annually over the last decade. So home-based businesses make up about 52%, and certain franchises make up about 2% of all the small firms. Small businesses represent 99.7% of all companies with employees. So small firms constituted 98% of all identified exports and produced about 33% of the country's known export value in a fiscal year in 2010. Now, the definitions of success, we look at the monetary and other as well. Starting a business is an opportunity, and like any opportunity, it should be evaluated by taking a careful look at all aspects of it. So one thing that is certain, though, is that the desire to make money alone, it's not a good enough reason to start one's own business. So the financial rewards of owning a business may not occur until you have put in years of hard work. So most successful companies have been founded by an entrepreneur with a powerful motivating vision and passion, balancing by a strong work ethic and dedication. So entrepreneurs have dedicated and declared that they are not in the business for money. So often it has become a cliche, but like most cliches, it is based on the degree of truth. Now, taking the long view, successful entrepreneurs know it is important to begin with the end in mind. So as you consider an entrepreneur path, I want you to consider these questions. One, are you planning to be active in the business until retirement? At what age will you retire? Who will take over then? A family member or a new owner? And do you plan to grow the business to a certain size or level of maturity and then sell it? If so, what is that target level? Are you looking at an initial public offering or a small private sale? Would you stay with the business after it was actually sold? And would you want to stay active for a given number of years? Then what would you do? Certain benefits and costs of becoming an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs put a great deal of time, money, and effort into launching their own particular businesses. So even if you have a clear vision that you believe will motivate you through the ups and downs of running a business, you need to look closely at the costs and benefits of being an entrepreneur before you actually decide this life is particularly for you or not. Now, the potential benefits of entrepreneurship is 1, you have control over the time. 2, fulfillment. 3, independence or autonomy. 4, creation or ownership. 5, financial reward, control or compensation. 6, control over working conditions. 7, self-esteem. And 8, that contribution to society as well. And then we look at entrepreneurs choose how and when they are paid. So as an owner of your company, when funds permit, you can actually decide to 1, pay yourself a salary, which is a fixed amount of money paid to an employee at regular intervals. 2, pay yourself a wage, so a fixed payment per hour for work performed. 3, take a share of the company's profit in dividends, so each stockholder's portion of the profit per share paid out by a particular corporation. And number 4, to take a commission on every sale that you make. So a percentage of a sale paid to a salesperson could be an option. Another potential cost for entrepreneurship is that while there are many potential benefits to entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs also face numerous possible costs. So we have business failure, obstacles, loneliness and isolation, financial insecurity, long hours, hard work, strain on personal relationships, and so forth. Now let's look at the cost/benefit analysis. So entrepreneurs have to be able to tolerate a higher degree of risk and uncertainty than people who work steady jobs for established employers. So the higher the risk, however, this becomes a potential of higher reward as well. The cost benefit analysis is a decision making process in which the costs of taking an action are compared to the benefits. And to turn an opportunity into a business, entrepreneurs invest both their time and money. So before making this kind of investment, you need to think carefully about the costs and the benefits. For the costs, the money, energy, and time you will have to invest, as well as opportunities you will be giving up to operate the business, need to be considered. And then the benefits, the wealth you will accrue and the knowledge, skills, the self-esteem, and experience you will gain all come into play. Now, opportunity costs, the cost benefit analysis is incomplete without considering the opportunity costs. When we say opportunity cost, it is the value of what must be given up in order to obtain something else. You see here listed on this chart, the U.S. Small Business Administration Small Business Readiness Assessment is listed. And I'll give you a little rundown for you. Becoming an entrepreneur, it's not for everyone. In the business, there are no guarantees, and there's simply no way to eliminate all of the risks. So it takes a special person with a strong commitment of specific skills to be successful as an entrepreneur. Are you ready to start your own business? And this is the readiness assessment line. General questions would be, do you think you're ready to start a business? Do you have support for your business from your family and friends? Have you ever worked in a small business like what you are trying to start? Would people you know say you are an entrepreneur? Have you ever taken a small business course or seminar? And then certain personal characteristics we need to consider. Are you a leader? Do you like to make your own decisions? Do others turn to you for help in making decisions? Do you enjoy competition? Do you have that willpower, the self-discipline? Do you plan? Do you like people? Do you get along with many other people? Would people you know say that you're outgoing and are extrovert? And then we look at different conditions as in, are you aware that running your own small business may require working more than 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and maybe Sundays and holidays? Do you have the physical stamina to handle a self-employed workload and schedule? Do you have the emotional strength to deal with effectively levels of pressure? Are you prepared, if needed, to temporarily lower your standard of living until your business is firmly established? And are you prepared to lose a portion of your savings? And certain skills and experiences that we need to discuss is, do you know what basic skills you will need to have a successful business? Do you possess those particular skills? Do you feel comfortable using a computer? Have you ever worked as a managerial or supervising capacity? Do you think you could be comfortable hiring, disciplining, and delegating tasks to employees? And if you discover you do not have these basic skills needed for your business, will you be willing to delay your plans until you have acquired that necessary skill? Now, seeking advice and information to succeed, seeking advice and information, we look at mentorship. So a trusted advisor with whom a person forms a developmental partnership through which information, insight, skill, and knowledge are shared to promote personal and professional growth as well. Now, certain entrepreneur options for you. We have the social entrepreneurship. It has multiple definitions and forms, but it is commonly thought of as a for-profit enterprise with the dual goals of achieving profitability and attaining beneficial returns for society. So social entrepreneurs play the role of change agents in the social sector. We look at adopting a mission to create a sustained social value, so not just your private value. We look at recognizing and relentlessly pursuing new opportunities to serve that mission and engaging in a process of continuous innovation, adaptation, and learning. We also look at acting boldly without being limited to certain resources currently at hand, and then exhibiting heightening accountability to the constituencies served for those outcomes actually created. So social entrepreneurship, it's less about profit than it is about social impact. And we look at social business, a company created to achieve a social objective while generating a modest profit to expand its reach, improve the project or product and service, and subsidize the social mission as well. Now, a figure here for you, we have the Habitat for Humanity's resource stakeholders. You see everything is pointing out to different aspects. We have the potential HFH homeowners, the local communities, governments, contractors, suppliers, customers, cash donors, in-kind donors, local HFH affiliates, and volunteers as well. Now let's look at the venture philanthropy. So a subset or segment of social entrepreneurship wherein financial and human capital is invested. It's not for profit by individuals and for profit enterprises with that intention of generating social rather than financial returns on investments. Now the green entrepreneurship, it's a business activities that avoid harm to environments or to help to protect it in some form of way. So, according to the Corporation for Enterprise Development, the CFED, green entrepreneurship can one, create jobs and offer entrepreneurship opportunities, two, increase energy efficiency and conserving natural resources and saving money at hand, decrease harm to workers' health, enable businesses to tap into new sources of local, state, and federal funding, take advantage of consumer preference for environmentally friendly goods. And number six, to preserve limited natural assets on which businesses and communities depend for business and quality of life. Now, the many faces of entrepreneurship. So we look at the micro enterprises. So businesses with 5 or fewer employees, that initial capitalization requires less than $50,000 and the habitual operational involvement of the owner. Now we look at the lifestyle businesses as well. So we have the micro entrepreneurs, that enterprises that permit their owners to follow a desired pattern of living, such as supporting college costs or taking vacations and so forth. We also look at the mainstream small firms. These constitute the bulk of the small business in public perception, in the press, and in the community visibility as well. So family enterprises are of essence. We look at company owned and operated primarily by family members. Typically, we see this in businesses such as restaurants and so forth. Now, unicorns. Unicorns are the startup business company valued at about $1 billion. We look at the corporate entrepreneurship or the intrapreneurship when an individual or a team within an existing corporation creates or identifies new opportunities for increased profits or improved competitive position. It secures the necessary resources and creates a value through a new organization or innovation within the firm. So entrepreneurs, not entrepreneurs, can be found within large organizations globally and are most successful when the organization supports their efforts and rewards entrepreneurial creativity and accepts failure as part of that process. So how do entrepreneurs find opportunities to start new businesses? Well, we look at Schumpeter's definition describing those 5 basic ways that entrepreneurs find opportunities to create a new business. One being that using a new technology to produce a new product. 2, using an existing technology to produce a new product. 3, using an existing technology to produce an old product in some form of new way. 4, finding a new supply of resources that might enable the entrepreneur to produce a product more economically. And number 5, developing a new market for an existing product. Now, entrepreneurs creatively exploit changes in our world. So this is in alignment with Schumpeter's definition of entrepreneurship, but explicitly it takes it a step further. So to take advantage of certain circumstances. These changes can be technological, like the explosion in the computer technology that led Bill Gates and Paul Allen to start Microsoft. So nothing changes faster than technology. So not so many years ago, there was no barcodes, no electronic scanners, hardly anyone was using email, and smartphones didn't exist. So we see here the changes to our world. To learn about new technology, here are common websites that are often used and talked about. So how do entrepreneurs create business ideas? Well, they listen, they observe, and they analyze. So to listen, by listening to others, entrepreneurs get ideas about improving a business or creating a new one. They create one business idea by listening, describe how you got the idea. And then to observe. By constantly keeping their eyes and ears open, entrepreneurs get ideas about how to help society, what kinds of businesses that they could start, and about what consumers need. Create a business idea by observing and describe how you received the idea. Things for you to consider. And then analyze. So when entrepreneurs analyze a problem, they think about what a product or service could solve. Create a business idea by thinking of a solution of a problem is what would fall here. So describe how you came to the idea here as well. This is a self-reflection little portion for you to sit and reflect upon, and maybe you will come up with an idea here. Now, Peter Drucker defined an entrepreneur as someone who always searches for change, responds to it, and exploits to it as an opportunity. So entrepreneurs are always on the lookout for ways to create businesses for the opportunity of change. Now, where others see problems, entrepreneurs recognize opportunities. So, as an entrepreneur, you recognize the problem was actually an opportunity. Where there are dissatisfied customers, there's likely opportunities for entrepreneurs. So, entrepreneurs recognize that opportunities are their area of success where people need problems that could be solved as the status quo. Now, train your mind to recognize business opportunities. A further step is to let your creativity fly. So, consider developing your entrepreneur instincts by asking yourself the following questions. One, what frustrates me the most when I try to buy something? What do I observe frustrating others? What product or service would really make my life better? What could improve the lives of my community members? What makes me annoyed or angry? What annoys my friends and family? What product or service could take away the aggregation? Taking it a step further, prime fact for you, entrepreneurship has proven to be an effective way for minorities and people to enter and women to enter the business world. So more than 9 million businesses were minority owned in 2012, and they generated about $1.4 billion in revenues. So in 2012, there was more than 12.4 million non-farm businesses owned by women or co-owned equally with men, accounting for 36% of all of the US companies. Now, jumpstart your imagination by asking you these common questions. What is the one thing that I would like to have more than anything else? What would it look like? What would it be if it attributes to? What would it do? What innovative product or service idea have I been mulling over in my mind? And what problem have I encountered in everyday life and thought there has to be a better way to do this? Now, an idea is not necessarily an opportunity. So remember, not every single idea is an opportunity. So an opportunity is an idea that is based on what other consumers need or want and are willing to buy sufficiently often as high prices will sustain a business. So Timon's definition of a business opportunity includes these 4 characteristics. 1, it is attractive to customers because it creates or adds value for its customers. 2, it will work in the business environment. 3, it can be executed in a defined window or opportunity. And 4, it can be implemented with that right team to make it durable. Now, opportunity is also situational. So the situational being that it's dependent on variable circumstances. There are no rules about when or where an opportunity might present itself. Think of Facebook or Google or Snapchat. Each was an entrepreneur venture that left industry giants scrambling to catch up. And then we do a SWOT analysis. The SWOT, we look at strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threats. So some wisdom for you for entrepreneurs. A useful way to evaluate a business idea is to look at strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. This is called the SWOT analysis. The strengths being that all capabilities and positive points that company has, from experience to contacts. There are internal to the organization. We have weaknesses as well, that all the negatives the company faces, such as lack of capital or training or failure to set up a workable accounting system. These are internal to the organization. And then we have opportunities, that any positive external event or circumstance that can help the entrepreneur get ahead of the competition. And lastly, we have threats, any external factor, event, or circumstance that can harm the business, such as competitors, legal issues, or declining economies as well. Now, the 5 routes to the opportunity in the marketplace. Entrepreneurs can exploit 5 routes of opportunity. Notice how similar these are to Scumpeter's definition of entrepreneurship. We look at problems your business can solve, changes in law, situations, or trends. We look at inventions of new products or services, competitive advantage in price, quality, location, reputation, reliability, speed, or other attributes of importance to customers. And then we look at the technological advances that entrepreneurs take from the laboratory to the marketplace. So opportunity is situational, meaning it's dependent on the variable circumstances. There are no rules about when or where an opportunity might appear. And then we have the path to enterprise, our ownerships, securing that franchise rights. So franchise is a business that markets a product or service developed by a franchisor, typically in the manner specified by the franchisor. And then we have buying an existing business. We have acquisition, a business purchase, due diligence, the exercise of reasonable care in the evaluation of a business opportunity. And then licensing technology. So one way to potentially shorten the product development cycle and access innovative technology is to identify and license the technology that is actually there. So to enter into a contract with it, purchasing the rights of owning it. Now, franchise is a legal and commercial relationship between the owner of a trademark, service mark, trade name, or advertising symbol and an individual or group seeking to use the identification in a business. We also have the paths to ownership, enterprise ownership. So a franchise is a legal commercial relationship between the owner of a trademark, service mark, trade name, or advertising symbol and an individual or group seeking to use the identification in business. So we look here, we have customers, start a business, none, buy a business, established, secure franchise or license, none, but they may have that recognition, and then license technology as follows. So take about 15 seconds to look through here. And let's move on. Now, making the business work personally and professionally. Well, what makes a business work? It's not simply profitable and cash and flow. Each entrepreneur has their own set of goals and objectives for an organization. So as an entrepreneur, it will be up to you to determine how you want your business to be and how you actually want to make it happen. We look at staying in the business for profit. So the amount of money remaining after all the costs are deducted from the income of a business, that is your profit. Profit is the sign that the entrepreneur is adding value, and profit results from the entrepreneur choices as well. Now let's look at profit. It's a sign that an entrepreneur has added value to the resources he or she is using. So in contrast, not making a profit is a sign that the entrepreneur is not using resources well, and it's not adding value to them as well. Now, Debbie Fields added value to scarce resources by creating something that people are willing to buy for a price that gave her some form of profit. So profits resulting from entrepreneur choices. As entrepreneur choices directly affect how much profit the business makes, we have that trade-off. Trade-off being the act of giving up one thing for another. Now let's look at the team approach. So while most businesses do not hire employees, successful entrepreneurs ventures grow well beyond their initial founder. So potential team members are all around you, and everyone you meet is a potential contact for your business. So just as you may be valuable contact for theirs. Now, developing skills for your career, we have entrepreneurship or employment. So whether you intend to become an entrepreneur, already are one, or never expect to become one, the competencies, knowledge, skills, abilities, and attitudes you can and experience and develop through using of this book, of this particular lecture, will help serve you. Now, we look at the written and oral communication. We look at critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork and collaboration, leadership, creativity, ethics, as well as information technology as well. Now, our next portion, we're going to focus on pathways to success, those processes and instruments. By the end of this section, you should be able to describe what feasibility analysis is and choose when to create one. You should be able to articulate the lean startup methodology, to prepare a business model canvas, to identify primary business plan contents, to summarize the various purpose of a business plan and the audience for one, and to differentiate the components of a small business. So recognize and demonstrate proper development and formatting of a business plan. Now, feasibility analysis, does my idea work? So the time and energy involved in generating and exploiting business ideas can be extensive. So with that SBA reporting, for many entrepreneurs, the process can take years. So if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. This is written by Lewis Carroll, an English author. And when we speak of feasibility analysis, it is directly a study to assist in making the go, no-go decision based on close examination of product, service, market, industry, and financial data in a sufficient degree of detail to ensure confidence in results. So the feasibility analysis essentially tests a business concept for viability in these three areas. The first one being the product and or service feasibility, the second one being the market and industry feasibility, and the third one being the financial feasibility. Now, analyzing product and or service feasibility, entrepreneurs are often described as committed to their business idea. They take on almost religious zeal and essentially fall in love with the concept of the product or service, creating some form of fantasy of what the business will be. So, a product or service is not only worthwhile pursuing if it can be produced and delivered at a profit of an ongoing matter. In order to avoid such unwelcome surprises, you can create the production design for your product and create a working model called a prototype, fabricated for testing by laboratories and prospective customers as well. Taking it a step further, it's important to perform this feasibility study in order to avoid wasting valuable resources. It's an amazing product of an innovative service. It would not necessarily translate into enough sales to sustain your business. Now, analyzing market and industry feasibility. So, one tool that is frequently used for industry analysis is the five forces model, created by Michael Porter of Harvard University, which focuses on the competitive intensity of a market. So, the five industry forces identified by Porter are essentially: one, creating competitive rivalry; two, barriers to entry; three, threat of substitutes; four, supplier power; and five, buying power. We look at Porter's five forces of competition in an industry here. You see that that middle ground is the competitive rivalry among existing firms, and all is around follows. Now, existing competitive rivalry, what do we mean by this? Key aspects of that intense rivalry, according to Porter, is as follows. One, many firms of approximately the same size. Two, an industry experiencing slow growth. Three, that lack of differentiation. Four, low switching costs for customers. Five, high fixed costs. Six, perishable products. Seven, the need to create new production capacity in large increments and high barriers to existing, as well as number nine, we have diverse rivals as well. Now, for barriers of entry, in an industry of threat of new entrants, it's largely defined by the strength of barriers erected to prevent them. So, according to Porter, sources of barriers to entry include: one, capital requirements; two, cost advantages; three, economies of scale; four, the access to distribution channels; five, we have the product differentiation; and six, we have government policy. Now, threat of substitutes. So the level of threat posed by alternative products and services to industry consumers matter. So some defining factors include the convenience, price competitiveness, supply availability, switching costs, as well as public policies. Well, what do we mean by supplier power? That less bargaining power and control the suppliers of raw materials or components or labor have over competitors, the more attractive the industry will be. So Porter suggests that suppliers are more powerful when the following industry factors apply. There is domination by a few companies, that products are differentiated, switching costs are higher, substitutes are not readily available. They can threaten to move into business themselves, and the industry, it's not important to the supplier per se. Then we have buyer power, in the sense that the force is similar to that of suppliers, but on the demand side. So according to Porter, buyers are more powerful in an industry if: one, they are concentrated; two, they are purchased a lot; three, products are undifferentiated or standard; four, products are not a big part of that overall cost; five, profits are low; six, product quality, it's not particularly important; and seven, the products, they do not save money for the buyer. Now, analyzing financial feasibility, having that completed the product or service feasibility analysis and also conducted one of the market and industry, you can complete the process by assessing the financial viability for your business idea. So we look at that analysis. It doesn't need to be too detailed. The amount of startup capital required will be a function of the size and type of organization when you are actually starting. The entrepreneur can assess feasibility better with reasonable projection of revenues based on anticipated pricing and volume. And then finally, cost factors should be calculated and return on investment should be projected. Now, using the lean startup methodology, we look at lean startup. It is that hypothesis-driven approach to business startup using itinerative development. So we have the build, measure, learning loop here. You see it's all listed as follows. You have that learn, the create ideas, build product, measure, analyze data, and then learn, and so forth. So it's a cycle, it's ongoing. Now, the process of focusing on speed in a product development works toward ensuring product market fit. So if a startup product does not good fit in the market, the likelihood of success is slim at best. So the process also leads to generation of active actionable metrics, which are measurements of that key driven of the startup business that guide informed decisions and actions as well. Now, when we speak of the startup create minimum viable products, the MVP, a model or version of a new product that is designed to secure maximum customer feedback with minimum effort. So by testing the MVPs, the startups avoid wasting precious resources developing product features and benefiting the customers that don't want or need this particular thing. Now, once hypotheses are tested, we have startups that can pivot, so that change that model to some extent, but keep some parts of it. They preserve, so they continue the same path, and they perish as well, so they discontinue the startup. Now, a business model, creating your business model canvas. A business model is a company's plan to generate revenue and make a profit from the operations. So the canvas includes 9 core building blocks that are intended to supply answers to critical questions. So these building blocks are meant to be implemented into the company. So we look at the CS, the customer segments, the consumers for whom the company creates value. We have mass market being that broadly similar groups of customers. The niche market, so it's narrow, specialized, and specific. And then we have segmented market, which is groups with slightly different needs and problems. Then we have diversified market segments that aren't related and have very different needs. And then we have the multi-sided markets where it's generally composed of supplier and customer segments that are all served. Now, the VP, the value proposition, the reason customers select the products and services. So how new it is, performance, does it get the job done, the design, the brand status, the price, the cost reduction, the risk reduction, accessibility, as well as the convenience and actual usage. Then we look at channels, so how the company reaches and communicates with customer segments. So own channels versus partners. Direct, so sales force, web sales, own sales versus indirect, partner stores, wholesalers, and so forth. Then we look at customer relations. So that customer relationship, the type established through customer segment reach, looking at personal assistance, dedicated personal assistance, that's self-service, the automated services, the user communities, as well as the co-creation. Then we look at the revenue streams, how funds are generated. We look at asset sales, usage fees, subscription fees, lending, renting, leasing, licensing, brokerage fees, as well as advertising fees. And then are almost near to the end, we look at key resources, being that what it is that critical that makes the model function. So we look at the physical aspect, the financial aspect, the intellectual aspect, as well as the human aspect. And then we look at key activities, so critical actions for success, so production, problem solving, platform and network. Now, key partnerships, the particular suppliers and partners needed in the network. We look at strategic alliances between non-competitors, corporations. We look at joint ventures, buyer-supplier relationship, and then lastly, we could look at cost structure, all cost of operations. Now, for a business plan, a document that thoroughly explains a business idea and how it can be carried out is your business plan. So the foremost reason to write a business plan is to organize your thoughts before actually starting a business. So the plan should include the following. Number 1, the story of what the business is and hopes to become. 2, all costs and marketing plan. 3, description of how the business will be financed. And 4, an estimated of project earnings. Now, why do you need a business plan? So whether you're planning a micro enterprise with virtually no startup costs or a multi-million-dollar venture, you will find a business plan on a central tool. So a plan can also help you determine on paper whether your business is viable before you make mistakes in the real world, allowing you to adjust accordingly. And then our last aspect, focusing on the business plan, it's vital to create and propose businesses as a guide to operations and direction, which can be modified of an organization as it evolves. Now, your business plan is to be raising some form of capital. Your plan should be so thoughtful and well written that the only question that raises the investor's mind is, how can I invest? So as mentioned, bankers and other potential investors, they refuse to see an entrepreneur who does not have a business plan unless the loan or investment you are seeking is very small. So the financial projections should be realistic and attainable. Now, business plan and operations guide. So whether you are not or whether or not you need to raise capital, a business plan will be a vital tool for guiding the internal operations for your enterprise. So business owners and managers increase that probability of success by taking the plan in their heads and committing it to paper. Now, with your business plan on your benchmarking tool, you can compare your company's progress to your started plan as well. Here being a business plan outline is listed here for you. This particular software package is a sample business plan that provides you to developing your own unique design. You see it listed. I'll give you about 10 seconds to look at it before I move forward. We look at product, services, pricing, promotion, place, industry analysis, financial analysis, management and operations, funding request, strategy, and so forth. Now, business plan components, we look at the cover page and table of contents. So the cover page should be professional, neat, and attractive. Your executive summary being a snapshot of your business. So an executive summary has to be compelling and comprehensive. For your mission and culture, your dreams for the organization. So each company has the opportunity to create its unique mission, vision, and culture. For a mission, the concise communication of strategy, including a business definition and explanation of competitive advantage. For the mission statement, it needs to be a brief written statement that informs consumers, customers, employees, what an organization's goal is, and describe the strategy and tactics to actually meet it. Taking it a step further, let's look at the vision. A vision needs to be a broader, more comprehensive perspective on an organization than its mission, built on the core values and belief systems of the particular organization. And the culture needs to be the beliefs, values, and behavioral norms of an organization. Now, company description, the background and track record. So if the company is already established, it is a franchise or is the reincarnation of a previous business, there will be a history to share with the reader for the plan. So if this is a startup venture, this section should describe briefly the background story of the company, explaining what you have done thus far and why you have actually done it. And the legal form of the business, that sole proprietorship, corporation, LLC, partnership, it should also be noted. Now, opportunity analysis and research, we have testing ideas. For industry analysis, we focus on a critical view of the industry definition, industry size and growth, product and industry life cycle, and any current or anticipated legal or regulatory concerns as well. Environmental analysis is a review that addresses the roles of the community, region, nation, or the rest of the world as they relate to a business. And then we look at proof of a market, so an investigation that provides evidence of a market opportunity. Now, your target market, so groups defined by common factors such as demographics, psychographics, age, or geography that are of primary interest to a business. And we look at that competitive analysis research that compares an organization with several direct and indirect competitors by name in a manner that is meaningful to the targeted customers. Now, let's talk about marketing strategy and plan, reaching your customers. Well, that marketing mix is a combination of four factors. We look at the product, price, place, and promotion that communicates a marketing vision. For products and services, the product or service should meet or create customer needs. Pricing needs to be a product or service that has been priced so that your target customers will buy it and the business will make some form of profit. The promotion being that it's consisting of advertising, publicity, or other promotional methods such as discount coupons or giveaways. And then place being that it's a venue from which you'll be able to sell and distribute your product. Now, your marketing plan is a statement of the marketing goals and objectives for a business and intended strategies and tactics to actually attain them. For advertising, it's paid promotions through media outlets. Public relations, community activities that are designed to enhance an organization's image. Publicity, free promotion, and then direct marketing, including telemarketing, direct mail, in-person selling, and other personalized promotional effects. Now let's look at making the plan happen. So the people you hire and it creates a plan to implement within an essential part of your business plan. So there will be where the rubber meets the road in the planning process. The management team is often the deciding factor for potential investors' decision to financially support a business, and the team must be composed of an effective balance of members with that technical expertise in the field and life expertise as well. Now, the description of a physical location is similar to the discussion of place in the marketing mix, but with the emphasis on the logistics and workforce readiness. So the facilities and equipment for your business should be planned with the management team. Now, the financial analysis and projections translating action into money. We look at the financial section in that numerical representation of a business plan. It should demonstrate organizational viability in the financial terms. We look at sources and uses of capital, capital flow projections, balance sheet projections, income statements for 3 years, break-even analysis, ratio analysis, and the risk and assumptions as well. Cash flow statement is a financial statement showing cash receipts less cash distributions or a business over a period of time. And then we look at the balance sheet, which is a financial statement summarizing the assets, liabilities, and net worth of a business. And the asset being any item of value, by liability being a business debt. And then the difference between assets and liabilities is that net worth. The owner's equity is your net worth. Income statement is a financial document that summarizes income and expense activity over a specific period and shows net profit or loss. Profit and loss statement, the P&L, it's an income statement. And the break-even point when the volume of sales exactly covers the fixed costs. Now, funding requests and exit strategy, the ask and the return. So the exit strategy is the way in which you and your investors expect to leave the company someday in a planned and orderly way. So we look at the IPO, the initial public offering, first offering of a corporate stock or investors on the open public market. And looking at the appendices, you will provide with the opportunity to straighten your business plan in a different portion of this, looking at that it should be numbered and placed in the plan according to the reference, and you should be looking at the table of contents as suggested prior. Now, your business plan suggestion. So as you put together your business plan, there's some key factors I want you to consider. Write for your audience, show that you are invested in the company, be clear and concise, use current data and reports for your industry, choose a voice and stick with it, use a consistent, easy to read format, number and label, and present it professionally. And when I say present it professionally, I mean a written business plan. It's only one component of the business planning process. A formal presentation, an attractive multimedia presentation, free from errors, excessive animation, and other distractions is advised. So business plan representation can follow a discussion for a few minutes, for a couple of hours, with the presentation and discussion. And then presentations to venture capitalists may be limited to as little as 5 to 20 minutes. And then your elevator pitch aspect needs to be a 30-second to 2-minute presentation that conveys an engaging way what a business is proposing and why the listener should actually be interested. Now, presenting your business plan, the final few steps of it, we look at timing, your audience, your presentation style, your presentation contents, as well as a follow-up. For your timing, you want to be prompt and ready to start on time. Use the entire time allocated and use it productively. Audience, you want to know your audience and tailor the presentation accordingly. Establish your rapport with your audience. Presentation style, you want to dress appropriately and maintain a professional demeanor. You want to be enthusiastic, but not some form of artificial or arrogant either. So use proper pronunciation and language. You want to, for your presentation contents, create a hook to capture your audience eagerly. Hit the highlights without going into excessive detail. Use visual aids. Keep it simple with key points. Emphasize with the benefits of opportunity to your audience, and conclude it with a thank you. For your follow-up, expect and prepare for questions and contact each audience member to move forward with those goals. And the last aspect of our business plan and venture, it's that numerous business plan and venture funding competitions are held for a year of young people, undergraduate students, graduate students, primarily MBAs and non-student professionals as well. So many business schools and classes hold internal competitions and then advance winners to regional, national, and even international events. So prizes may range from $500 to financing and professional service packages worth millions. Now, creating business from opportunity, our final portion of this. By the end of this section, you should be able to define your business, distinguish between entrepreneur and managerial thinking, articulate your core beliefs, mission, and vision, decide how to approach business opportunities, analyze your competitive advantage, prepare viability tests using the economics of one unit, and to calculate the value of a business. Now, what defines a business? This business definition includes the offer, target market, and product and delivery capability, answering the questions of who, what, and how. So a solid business definition for these elements are: 1, the offer, 2, target market, and 3, the production and delivery capability. Now, when we say the offer, what will you sell to your customers? This is called your offer, and it includes that complete bundle of products and services you'll be bringing to the marketplace. Your target market is the segment of the market you're aiming to actually serve. Your production and delivery capability. How will you provide your offer to your targeted customers? Well, this part of the business definition includes primarily activities of buying and developing or manufacturing the product, identifying its potential qualified customers, and selling the product to them, producing and delivering the product or service, and then as well as receiving it. Now, what effectual reasoning for your advantage? Well, we have that effectual logic, which is a way of thinking employed by entrepreneurs that includes decision-making principles applied in situations of uncertainty. And we have that causal logic, which is a managerial thinking. It's based on cause and effect, with managers planning and creating steps toward a specific goal in a linear fashion. Now, taking it a step further, for many years, researchers have attempted to define entrepreneurs by traits such as birth order, personality, competencies, entrepreneur orientation with mixed results. One analysis originated by Dr. Saraswati examines entrepreneur thinking in action. So this analysis of effectual logic versus causal logic, it's important to understand how successful entrepreneurs can create business from opportunities. Now, using the reasoning to your advantage, we look at comparing effectual and causal logic. So some prime examples, I won't go into all of them. We look at the bird in hand principle, start with the means. We start with your goal, cause, and effect. And then another one is the affordable loss principle. You calculate expected return. Lemonade principle, you avoid some form of failure. So what sort of organization do you want? Each organization has the opportunity to create a unique mission, vision, and culture that will be supported by its core values. So the organization's culture can be shaped according to the business environment by the way the employees, customers, and other stakeholders are treated, and an example that is set by the founding entrepreneur or owner. Now, the core values are the fundamental ethical, moral philosophy and beliefs that form the foundation of the organization and provide broad guidance for all decision making. So examples of the core values of business might be: at Superior Printing, we engage in business practices that affect the environment as little as possible. At Shelia's Restaurant, we believe in supporting local organic farmers. So core values will affect everything from the cost of materials to the prices you charge and how you actually treat your customers. Zappos.com looks at the deliver wow through service, embrace and drive change, create fun in life weirdness, be adventurous, pursue growth and learning, and so forth. Each of these have their own. These are prime examples for you. Please skim through it. Take about 10 seconds. And take a step further. So the mission of your business expressed in a mission statement, it's concise communication of your purpose, business definition, as well as values. So the function of a mission statement is to clarify what the business is trying to do in the present, but it can provide direction and motivation for future action through clear, compelling message. So a mission statement should be limited to about 21 to 40 words to induce clarity in concept and expression. Some more prime mission statements are as listed. I won't read them personally to you. I'll read one or two. How about that? For Google, it's to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. For Kiva Microfunds, it's to connect people through lending to elevate that poverty. So elevate so them the Teacher America. We have Healing Hands Body Therapy and so forth. So take about 10 seconds to look at that before I move forward. Okay, so your company's vision is the broader perspective. So the vision for your business is broader and more comprehensive than its mission, painting a picture of that overall view of what you want your organization to be in the future, not in that particular moment. So it's built on the core values of the organization. It should energize your people and they should embrace it with enthusiasm and passion. So this means that the vision has to be compelling across the organization. Some prime vision statements being for Google to provide access to the world's information in one click. Kiva, it's we envision a world where all people, even in the most remote areas, hold the power to create opportunities to themselves and others. So the culture of an organization is largely shaped by its leadership. culture is composed of its core values and action. So leaders of a company build a particular culture by making the beliefs, values, behavioral norms explicit and intentional. Culture includes factors such as risk tolerance and innovation, orientation with respects to people, teams and outcomes, attention to detail, and communication norms as well. Now, taking into consideration the business opportunity decision process, each business has a different story regarding how they receive the opportunity for success. Translating opportunity to success can and has happened in literally millions of different ways. So there's three primary routes in deliberate search process for identifying these opportunities. The first one being, we look at the entrepreneur looks for business opportunities through a process of identification and selection, beginning with that self-development or group development ideas. The entrepreneur uses essentially the same process, but starts with research on hot business trends or growth areas. And then the entrepreneur has an idea for a product or service and searches for a market. Now, the business opportunity decision process is as listed. I'll give you about 10 seconds. It shows you 4 different ways. You can zoom in if you need to, 10 seconds, and then you can pause the video as you wish. Now, your competitive advantage for your business to be successful and to fulfill your mission and vision, you will need a strategy for beating that competition. So there will be a competitive advantage or core competency. The competitive advantage must be sustainable in order to create long-term viability. Now, your competition is defined by your target market and can be direct or indirect. Your competitive advantage is whatever meaningful benefit you can provide that puts you ahead of the competition. So can you attract more customers than your competitors by offering better quality or some special services? Can you supply your product at a lower price than other businesses serving your market? Find that competitive advantage by determining what your consumers need and want. So when you know what your consumers need and want, your competitors' capabilities, you should be able to find a competitive advantage. Bill Gates did not invent computer software, but he did recognize that people were frustrated and intimidated by it. From there, he supplied operating systems that he purchased from another software company to IBM. He created a user-friendly software application that consumers wanted and packaged them attractively with easy-to-read manuals. This was his competitive advantage over other software companies. You have unique knowledge of the market, so you may be wondering, how do I figure out what customers want or need? I don't know anything about them. Well, actually you do. Your market may be composed of your friends, your neighbors, your classmates, your relatives, your colleagues. However, be careful to make the distinction between with what you are assuming and what is to be true, so you can actually make good decisions. So you have unique knowledge of your market. Sir Richard Branson, the CEO of Virgin Corporation, chose Virgin because it reflected his total inexperience in business. His empire, which include Virgin Megastores, Virgin Atlantic Airways, and Virgin Mobile, began a tiny discount mail order record company when he was about 19 years old that dropped out of high school. Branson knew his market, other young people who were into music, very well. Then he learned about the other markets before he entered them. Now, the 6 key factors of competitive advantage, we have the quality, price, location, selection, service, and that speed or turnaround. We look at the competitive markets in the aspect of quality. Can you provide higher quality than the competing business? Price, can you offer a lower price or sustain business than your competition? Or does your higher price reflect quality and or uniqueness? And location, can you find a more convenient location for customers? Selection, can you provide a wider range of choices than your competitors can? Service, can you provide better, more personalized consumer service? Speed or turnaround, can you deliver your product service more quickly than the competition? Now, is your competitive advantage strong enough? According to Jeffrey Timmons' new venture creation, a successful company needs to do the following. 1, sell to a market that is large and growing. 2, sell to a market where the competition is able to make some form of profit. 3, sell to a market where the competition is succeeding, but it is not so powerful as to make it impossible for a new entrepreneur to enter. So barriers to entry, we look at the factors that contribute to the ease or difficulty of a new competitor joining or an establishing market. Taking it a step further, we look at selling a product or service that solves a problem consumers may have with the competition, or to sell a product or service at a competitive price that will attract customers. You should also be able to have the necessary understand the needs of your customers, have a sustainable competitive advantage or multiple evolving advantages, and to be able to deliver a product or service that meets your customers' needs at the right price. Now, checking out for competition, that we look at determining the competitive advantage where you'll be able to outperform your closest, most strong competitors and ask these particular questions. Competitive offers, how does your offer compare with those of leading competitors? How are the key features of each? Unique selling proposition, based on the comparison, what is your unique selling proposition, the USP, the distinctive feature and benefits that set you apart from your competition? And then we look at cost structure. What is the difference about your business activities and the cost of doing business compared to the competition? Overall, are you at cost advantage or disadvantage? Now, the most chocolate cake company. There are a number of ways to highlight your competitive advantage, identify opportunities. Here, Amy target market was the segment of public in Springfield that loved chocolate cakes, but did not have the time or interest in baking them. Because cakes are usually purchased for special occasions, Amy believed she could charge a premium price, at least as much as a bakery store cake. She decided she would make the cake special by 1, using the finest ingredients in secret recipe, 2, personalizing each cake through expert custom decorating, and 3, baking the cakes to order so that they can be fresh for the event. So we look at quality, selection, and quality. Then we look at the offer, the target market, the production capability, problem solving. So we focus on each of these for this particular experience and take about 10 seconds to pause and read through. But great experience and flavor without the work or mess of special occasion was that problem that needed to be solved. So another approach to analysis is to compare your business concept with competitors that you have identified through your own research. So a simple comparative table is a good way to display this. The table could include factors of competitive advantage that are important to prospective customers. It can have features you want to highlight or specific aspects of factors adding to them into the table, and these ratings of you or your work team through the market research as well. This is a prime example for you. We look at the simple qualitative competitive advantage analysis that shows that excellent, good, moderate, fair, and poor to each factor of the competitor. Here is a quantitative approach to that competitive analysis. Now, your competitive strategy, business definition, and competitive advantage. For a competitive strategy, the combination of the business definition is that competitive advantage. So your business will only succeed if you offer the customers in your market something more, better, or different from what their competition is doing. So your competitive advantage is essential, and once you establish it, it is your business's decision whether you will start to fall into place. Now, strategy versus tactics. Strategy is a plan for how an organization or individual intends to outdo the competitors. Tactics are the specific ways in which a business carries out in strategies. So if you plan to open a bookstore, how will you compete with the chain outlet in the neighborhood? Perhaps you can make a bookstore a kind of community center so that people can want to gather there. What tactics could you use to carry out this strategy? Well, holding poetry readings, one performer concert to promote local poets and musicians, create special interest book discussion groups, offer free tea and coffee, provide comfortable seating areas for conversation and reading to encourage customers to spend time in your store, set up a binder of personal ads as a dating service. Now, feasible revisited, the economics of one unit as a litmus test. We look at once you've chosen a business idea, you determine your competitive advantage. You should make a preliminary analysis to determine whether the idea would be financially viable. Now, that gross profit, it's the total sales revenue minus the total cost of the goods sold. So we look at the EOU, the economics of one unit sale, the amount of gross profit that is earned on one unit of the product or service as a business sells. Now, the unit of sale, we look at the basic unit of product or service that's sold by the business. We look at manufacturing, one order, wholesale, a dozen of an item, retail, one item, or service, 1 hour of service time, or a standard block of time devoted to a particular task. This is one prime example for you for each category. Take about 10 seconds to look through, but a business that sells a variety of items may choose to express one of the unit of sale on average sale per customer. Now, cost of goods sold and the gross profit. For the cost of goods sold, the cost of selling one additional unit of a tangible item. These are the cost of materials used to make the product and the cost of labor directly used to make the product. And then the cost of services sold is the cost of selling one additional unit of a service. Here is a COG per unit can be thought of as selling an additional unit. So if you buy watches and then resell them, your COGs per unit is the price you paid for one watch. Once you know your COGs, you can calculate gross profit by subtracting the COGs from revenue. Now, the economics of one unit of sale is a method of seeing whether your business idea could be profitable. So we look at the total revenue minus the total cost of goods sold. It equals that total gross profit. For the direct labor, employees that actively produce or deliver a product or service fall into play here. Now, the economics of one unit manufacturing. For a manufacturing business, one unit might be one pair of sneakers. The cost would include direct labor, the money paid to the people who made the product, and the supplies such as fabric, rubber, leather, so forth. The economics of one unit also applies to wholesale, retail, and service businesses. So assume that the wholesaler buys a set of 1 dozen pair of sneakers from the manufacturer for $180 and sells them to the retailers for about $240. The retailer pays the whole $240 for 1 dozen pair of sneakers. The retailer COGs therefore is $20, and the store sells one pair at a time for about $35. Now, the economics of one unit for service business is shown in an example of a hairstylist who charges $50 per cut. This being your prime example, Janet has a business designing the handmade bookmarkers. Her unit of sale is one bookmarker. She sells 40 bookmarkers per week to a bookstore in the neighborhood. Her selling price is $4.50 each, including an envelope. Her costs are 80 cents per card for materials and 20 cents for envelopes, totaling $1. On average, it takes her 1 hour to make 6 bookmarks. Janet pays her $9 an hour. The direct labor for each bookmarker is about $1.50. Janet wisely realizes this. She must include the cost of labor in the EOU. Now here you see it's accounted for the direct labor in the EOU. And you see that Janet realizes that if the bookstore wants to order more bookmarkers, or if she can sell them to additional bookstores, she will not have enough time to make them all herself. So to solve this issue, she hires her friend for the bookmarks for $9 per hour. Although the EOU will stay the same, Janet will have more time to look for new opportunities for her business. Her income from the business will now come solely from the gross profit, which is currently $2 per unit. And Janet meets a bookstore supplier wholesaler, so he offers to buy her 2,000 bookmarks if Janet can deliver them in 1 month and sell them for about $3.50 each, $1 less than what she's currently getting. So 3 questions come to mind here. Can I produce 2,000 unit order in the required time frame? If I lower the price to $3.50, will I still be acceptable gross profit for per unit? And number 3, how much in a total gross profit will I make for the order? Now, the 5 breakthrough steps entrepreneurs can take to understand preliminary feasibility are: we look at going for volume, calculating the unit of sale, determining the economics of one unit of sale, substituting someone else's labor, selling in volume, and creating goods and operating as profit. Now, determining the value of a business. So valuing a business for other going concerns, the process is more complex because the quality and reliability of the financial information is less certain. The valuation of business is a combination of art and science, and ultimately a matter of arriving at price and the set of terms that both the supplier and seller find acceptable. So for a public company, valuation is the worth of stockholders' equity. And for a growing concern with audited financials, the determination can be based on projected earnings and cash flows. So the primary methods of valuation are asset valuation, earning valuation, and cash flow valuation as well. We look at currency, a term for money when it's exchanged internationally, the FX, the foreign exchange rate, the relative value of one currency to another, and the primary methods of valuation as an asset valuation, earnings valuation, and cash flow valuation. Now, for asset valuation method, it is a method that analyzes the underlying value of the business's assets on a basis for negotiating price. So the 4 common areas are book value, adjusted book value, liquidation value, and replacement value. Now, earning valuation method, we look at earnings valuation. It's a method that assesses the value of a business based on a stream of earning that is multiplied either by agreed upon factor or by purse earnings ratio. Now, 3 areas we focus are historical earnings, future earnings under current ownership, future earnings under new ownership as well. Cash flow valuation method is a method of calculating the worth of a business by using projected future cash flows and the time of the value as well. Now, whatever value is calculated through the quantitative methods above, the final price should also reflect non-financial variables. So the value of a consumer goodwill will be probably factored into the price, and the competitive legal environments also have a role in this pricing. So the price offers a maximum amount you will be willing to pay should encompass all of the factors you particularly identified. And that is the end of our lecture.